Hello everybody, this is Namtox from NTF GAMING, and I'm back with another factual opinion, the only place to get the correct opinion on the state of video games. And today, I'm going to be giving you my opinion of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, the newest title from Ninja Theory. Wow. I'll just start it off with that. So, I'll touch on the parts of the game that are, the video game, the controls, the looks. It looks incredible. I mean, the looks really help sell the story, the characters, the mood, what you're supposed to be feeling, because it just looks so incredible. Every time Senua looks at you, every time she shows an emotion, every time you defeat an enemy, the looks help draw you in and keep you there, and also help sell the physical and emotional investment that Senua is going through on this journey. Sound-wise is also great, especially with headphones. The binaural audio is fantastic. The way it plays and throws sound in your ears, in your head, really is effective and really gets to you the longer you play this game. The combat never gets too complicated. It's not like Ninja Theory's other games. The combat is meant to be simple, and I feel like it actually is to the game's benefit, because the simplicity of the combat allows the encounters later on to be ramped up in a way that if you had too many complex controls or too many different moves to remember, it would be hard to keep track of and hard to deal with multiple enemies in a very smooth fashion. They keep it simple, they keep it focused. Now, in a standard action beat-em-up 15-hour long game, the mechanics probably wouldn't hold up, because there's no really unlocking new moves, there's no experience points, but that's totally fine for the type of game and story they're trying to tell. And I feel like more games need to be confident in keeping a narrow, tight focus on their combat design. I think that would help some games go a long way, instead of bloating it up with 30 unlockable moves, of which 21 you won't even use ever, because they're not effective. So I actually like that they keep it stripped down, focus, and very tight. It plays well, it controls great. The puzzles can be a little bit obtuse, but they are what they are. I didn't have a problem with them. I know some people are going to have an issue with the game walking forward and the puzzle solving. It's really easy for people to say this game is just a walking simulator and it doesn't do anything. I don't see that whatsoever, because what this game actually is very confident. They made a game that is not a bloated open world loot game where you're just trying to do meaningless side quests for a ultimately meaningless story with characters that are ultimately meaningless and don't actually have any identity to speak of. This game, like the mini stories within it, really pulls you in. It's extremely intimate. I mean, you're just in Senua's world. Like, she looks at you when the game starts, and at that moment you hear the voices in her head, you see her eyes lock with yours, and at that moment you feel like you are along for the ride, and you are going to go to some uncomfortable places, mentally, physically, spiritually, that you just don't get from other games. I felt like I was right there with her. I got to experience her highs, her lows. You get to see a vulnerability that doesn't happen much in any medium, let alone video games, where she's, obviously there's a physical vulnerability that she suffers when she's fighting, but it's more of a mental and an emotional vulnerability, and that's extremely hard to pull off regardless of medium, whether it's movies or music or anything, poetry. The fact that they're able to pull this off in the game really speaks volumes to the effort by all the actors and actresses, and the voiceover and the motion capture, and the people at Ninja Theory who really understood how to capture these emotions and display them in a way where you believe it from Senua's perspective, but you also see it in terms of a player's perspective, and you feel not the same emotions she's feeling, but you can understand what she's going through, and correlate with yourself how that makes you feel as a person and as a player. And that's an incredibly rich and rewarding experience that more than makes up for any sort of obtuse puzzle design or anything like that, because you're just in this world. This world, which is so immaculately built, it feels like a fable. You know, this game feels like an anthology series. It feels like an anthology series based on Norse mythology and folklore and legends and fables. And while you're going through Senua's journey, you hear bits and pieces with these rune stones that take the basic form of audio logs, and I feel like they're the best form of audio logs since BioShock introduced the mechanic in the first place, because each new location you go to, the stories that Druth tells you, and Druth is a fantastic character, great narrator, the stories he tells you almost always have some form of correlation with Senua, with her journey, and what she's experiencing, but without being one-to-one, here is a lesson for you, children. It is something deeper than that. There's always some kind of connection that you can make, some kind of clues you can get into what those stories are, and I feel like Senua, as she's experiencing these great stories, these fantastic, scriptures told to her, she is also creating her own folklore. There's a new fable being written, a new chapter in Norse mythology being scribed by every step you take with Senua, and by the end of this game, I felt like I had just experienced the creation of a new modern Norse mythology legend. Because her journey, her story is going to stick with me, and it's in my head. I can replay the moments of this game. I can remember the emotions that it made me feel, and there's nothing like that. The intimacy, the way it reached out and touched you, and the way the game definitely weaves between her mental disillusion and what's really happening, and it peels back layers and layers of story without ever beating it into your head and allowing you to, using your own intelligence, pick up on what is actually happening, which is, in terms of mental health, as someone who's worked with people who have mental disabilities, that's actually what it's like. It's very difficult to parse out what is actually the problem, because they can't just sit there reasonably and just say, this is what's bothering me today, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not how it works when you're dealing with someone who has a mental health issue. They have to interpret it the way they do, and you have to, as an observer and someone who's there with them, try to pick up the pieces of information that are real, like what they actually need, and try to figure out a way to help solve that problem. And this game pulls off that part of mental health extremely well. There's no clear-cut answers. There's no magic solution. It's something I never experienced before in video games. It's extremely well done. It's well written. It played extremely well. The combat's super satisfying, and the journey you go on from when you first boot this game up to when the end credits roll, I've just never experienced anything like that before. So yes, you can look at the technicality of it. You can look at the puzzle design. You can hit on it for how you walk forward. And yes, there's puzzles in this game that are weaker than others. There's combat encounters that are weaker than others. There are moments where it may drag, but none of that affected how I felt and how I still feel about the journey I went on. And that's what this game ultimately is. No matter what I say or anybody else says, I feel like it is a game meant to be experienced, and what you take out of it in the end will be radically different from anybody else, because I feel like it is that personal, and the way you feel about it is going to pull upon things inside of you, your fears, your emotions, your cares and distresses. And I feel like a lot of people can take a lot of different things from the themes and the way the game is presented. So please try Hellblade. It's only $30. It's an incredible title. It's a journey. It challenges you, not just in a physical sense in terms of controlling the character. It challenges you mentally. It challenges you to think beyond yourself and to put your mind state in a place where most video games don't dare ask with the player, and I applaud them for that. I appreciate something taking a chance and being so different than everything else, in a world where everything is so copy and paste and everyone has their winning formula, whether it's a MOBA or a card game or open world action RPG. I applaud Ninja Theory, all the actors, the actresses, all the talent to put this together, for dare being to be different in a world where it's easier to be rewarded for being the same. Hellblade is fantastic. I give it a 5 out of 5. The journey with me spoke volumes, and it's something I'm not going to forget about for a very, very long time, if ever. So I hope you enjoyed my review. My name is Namtox. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube shit. And it'll help me out greatly, and I hope you enjoy. Please check this out. Thank you, Ninja Theory, so much. And to everyone who watched this review, have a good one, everybody.